Hi everyone, you're welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. This is EMMADORSTYLES, and in today's video we'll be learning how to make this shoulder pleated boubou with snatched waist. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to join the sewing family, and remember to turn on your post notification bells to get notifications anytime I post new videos. I use Kampala and this black crepe fabrics at the middle for my gown. So guys, let's get right into the video. The first thing I did was to fold my fabrics into two to cut out the front piece. In order for you not to waste your fabrics while folding, to know the exact amount of fabrics you are to fold, you can go ahead and make use of your back measurement divided by 2, add it to 5 inches that you are going to be using for pleating on the shoulder, add it together with your sleeve measurement, then add it with your stitches allowance. Mine was 21 inches, so I folded my fabrics using 21 inches. Then after that, I draw a straight line across as my starting line. The next thing I'll be doing now is to mark out the length of my gown. So the length of my gown is 52 inches. Then I added 1 inch stitches allowance, and altogether it makes 53 inches that I'll be marking out on my fabrics. So I'll draw a straight line across the 53 inches that I measured out. So guys, I'll mark out my back measurement, which is 6.5 inches here. And after that, I'll move to the end of the fabrics that I fold earlier on, and I will come down by 1 inch. So now this is my back measurement and the 5 inches for the shoulder pleats, and the remaining one is for my sleeve. Now from the starting line, I'll mark down my hip line and I'll draw a straight line across. Remember, I come down by 1 inch earlier on, so I'll try to make the 1 inch feasible right now. Then I'll also make my back measurement feasible, and after that I'll draw a straight line across the 2 points, and that will serve as my shoulder slope. So now I'll go to my hip line and mark out my hip measurement divided by 4. I'll also go ahead and add 5 inches for ease. I will go ahead and mark the same measurements I have here on the down part of my gown, and I will use my ruler to connect the points together. So guys, I will go up by 2 inches from my hip line, then I will move to my shoulder slope and mark out 7 inches for my armhole. To get your armhole is so simple. Just divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to it. So now I will connect my armhole and my shoulder slope together. So from the armhole, I'll go in by 1 inch, and from that 1 inch, I'll make a curve to the 2 inches that we'll mark out earlier on from my hip line. I will then use a straight line to connect the curve from the 2 inches to the hip line, if you get what I mean. Guys, ignore the first 2 curves. Those curves are not curving, so I had to recurve another one. So I'm basically done for the drafting of the front piece. So right now, I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So guys, for my neckline, I'll go in by 3 inches, and for the depth of my neckline for the back, I'll go down by 1 inch. So for the front piece, for my neckline depth, I'll go down by 9 inches and make a mark at that point. So I'll make a curve to connect the back neckline and cut it out. So for the front neckline, remember we already marked out 9 inches and it's going to be a V shape. So I'm just going to use my ruler to draw like a V shape on my front piece. So I'll go ahead and cut it out now. When making yours, don't make a mistake of cutting both pieces together. Remember, the front is the V neckline and we already cut the back neckline. So guys, I will mark out half of an inch to join my band to the front piece. I will mark the half of an inch all the way down my fabrics, and when I'm done marking it out, I'll go ahead and cut it off. So when I'm done with that, I will go ahead and measure my front piece all the way down, and anything that I get after measuring it, I will add it to my back piece, to my back neckline like this, and anything that it gives me, I'll multiply it by 2, and that is what I'll be using to measure out my band, the band I'll be using for the front piece. The next thing I'll be doing now is to join my shoulders, and I'll be placing the front piece and the back piece right side facing each other. So now I'll head over to my sewing machine and stitch both shoulders. So now I've joined the shoulders and I already iron it out. Guys, I want you to pay close attention as for the pleat on the shoulder. Remember, I marked out 3 inches for the back neckline and my shoulder measurement is 6.5 inches. So I will deduct that 3 inches from 6.5 inches and I will mark out the remaining 3.5 inches, as you can see. So when I'm done marking out the 3.5 inches, I will then proceed to mark out the 5 inches that we marked earlier on for the shoulder pleats. I will then divide the 5 inches by 2, which gives me 2.5 inches, and I'll mark out the 2.5 inches. I will then use the 2.5 inches that I marked out to fold my fabrics like this, as you can see me do in this video. Just pay close attention, it's not something difficult. I will use the 2.5 inches that I mark out, that is the midpoint of the 5 inches. I'll use it to fold in my fabrics, and I'll use my hand to press it down and use my pin to pin it down, if you get what I mean. It's so simple, guys. Can you guys see how I did mine? From the 2.5 inches that I marked out, I fold it in like this, and I then use my hand to like press it down, to give it a press down like this, and I will then use my pin to pin it all the way down, both on the front piece and on the back piece. So when I'm done pinning it down, I will head over to my table and use my iron to iron it out to give it a neat one. So this is me trying to go through the same process for the other side. I will mark out the 3.5 inches, then after that I'll mark out the 5 inches for the pleated on the shoulder. Then I'll go ahead and divide the 5 inches by 2, which gives me 2.5, and from the 2.5 I'll fold my fabrics in like this. I'll use my hand to press it down and use my pin to pin it down on both the front and the back piece. So when I'm done pinning, I will use my iron to iron it out to give it a clean look. So after ironing, I will stitch it down on the wrong side. So guys, after stitching, this is what I have. The pattern of this Kampala is not doing justice to the pleated shoulder. As you can see, it came out really nice and clean. Can you guys see the pleats? When I'm done using my sewing machine to stitch it down, that is what it gives me. So now I'm going to be joining the two sides together. The 1 inch that I left earlier on for my sleeve, I'll use it to turn it in like this before joining the two sides together. Guys, our boubou is coming out gradually. So after joining the two sides, this is what it's looking like. To the band that we cut out earlier on, I'll take the back piece of my clothes, then I'll fold it into 2 and I will notch the middle. I've cut my collar behind the camera and I've also gone ahead to iron it out using 5 inches for the wideness. So now I will fold the collar into 2 and notch the middle. I will then place the middle on the middle of my back piece that I notched earlier on the wrong side of my fabrics, and I will stitch it all the way around on both sides. So when I'm done stitching all the way around on both sides, I will now top stitch it on the right side of my fabrics. So guys, let me quickly explain how I cut out my collar, because I cut it off camera. You remember earlier on we've already measured out the front piece and the neckline of the back piece. So the measurement that we got then, I multiply it by 2, and that is what I used to cut the length of my collar. Then for the wideness, I use 5 inches divided by 2, which is 2.5 inches. I cut the collar 5 inches, then I now fold it into 2, then I go ahead and iron it out. Now to stitch the front piece for my neckline, for my front neckline, I'll mark out 10 inches. As you can see, I marked out 10 inches. Then I will measure it to the point where I want my slit to start from. So when I'm done doing that, I'll use my pin to pin it down. So remember, don't do the mistake of pinning both the front and the back piece together. It is only the front piece that you use your pin to pin down. So guys, I'll make a mark where I want my slit to start from. So when I'm done with that, I'll just go ahead and stitch it all the way down. I already stitched my front piece, and this is what I have, guys. As you can see, our Boubou gown is almost ready. I've also gone ahead to stitch the down piece of my fabrics. Now for the snatch waist effect, which is the last thing we'll be doing on this Boubou, I'll go ahead and measure my waistline and mark it out. So my waistline is 15 inches and I already marked out 15 inches. Now to my waist measurement. My waist measurement is 28 inches. So I will divide 28 inches by 2, which gives me 14 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark out 14 inches on my fabrics. So I'll divide 14 inches by 2 and that gives me 7 inches. I will place my tape rule on the middle, that is the 14 inches that I marked out. Then from the 14 inches, I'll mark out 7 inches on both the right and the wrong side of my front piece. So I already cut out these 2 pieces that I'll be using for the rope for the snatching. So I'll just place each of the piece on the 7 inches that I marked out on both sides of my front fabrics, and I will use my sewing machine to stitch it down. So guys, this is the final outcome of our Boubou dress with a snatched waist. If you watched this video to this very moment, thank you so much. Don't forget to drop a comment. Don't forget to like. See you in the next one. Bye.